Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and I'm back from all my trips, finally back home and ready to make some art for you this month of December. During the month of November, I didn't have time to do the Tag It Tuesday challenge for altered tags that I normally do. This is a Facebook group that I belong to that's run by Sherry Whitfield, and I try to do the tag each month. I like challenges, as you guys know, and I like to follow along prompts. This one has 4 prompts. She asks that you use at least 2. I usually use all 4 of the prompts, which I did on this tag. And it's for fun, and you end up with a little piece of art that you can use as a bookmark or easily send in a business size envelope to someone else as a gift. It's a fun little thing to do. So the first step that was on this month's challenge was to use a stencil and modeling paste. And I had a brand new stencil from Stencil Girl because they just had their annual sale. And because I belong to the club, I got a really good discount. Plus, you get discounts on ordering 6 of the same size. And this time, if you ordered a certain number, there was a free stencil. If you ordered $100 worth of product, there was a free stencil. So I couldn't help myself. I love Stencil Girl stencils. So I ordered myself some stencils. So this is one of them that I just had to have. I love trees. I just love trees. And so this one is called Birch Tree, I believe. I'll, of course, link the stencil and all the other products I used in the description box below the video so you can find them if you'd like to have them. And I went ahead and put some Crafters Workshop silver colored modeling paste through the stencil, and then I dried it with a heat it tool, which is like kind of a lower pressure, lower temperature heat tool. I finally got one of those. It's been years that I've been wanting one because I have the hotter one. I didn't want to bubble the modeling paste. Modeling paste just makes a raised surface on your paper. And this is, by the way, a manila shipping tag, just a plain old tag. I, a couple years ago, bought a box of 1,000 of them because I like to do altered tags. I think it's fun. So I have a ton of them. The next step was to use your fingers to paint. And I decided to use Distress Oxide ink in my fingers. My finger is now quite stained. I'm not sure if it's going to come off or not. To apply this Distress Oxide ink in a finger painting sort of way over my image, which, of course, I can wipe that off, the silver part, pretty easily because it's a water-based product. If I'd used like acrylic paint over this, I would have lost some of that solid color where the stencil was, the silver part, because the acrylic paint would have attached itself to that acrylic modeling paste, which would have then, changed the look. So I wanted something that I could use that was water soluble, that I could wipe off that plasticky silver part, and that's the reason that I chose to use ink. And this Oxide ink has some fun properties. You can get a real interesting mottled effect by splattering it with water. So that's what I was doing just a second ago. What I was going for, my idea was trees in the forest, and it's autumn turning into winter like it is in November in most places. And the snow is starting to fall, and it's so quiet and peaceful and silent. And that was trying to go from the autumn to the winter change was what I was trying to do here. So that's my color choices and my other choices. So to seal up that Distress Oxide ink, in case I wanted to put something over the top of it, I used some Decoart crystal glitter medium, which is basically just like a decoupage medium that has crystal glitter in it. It's fine glitter. So of course on the video you can hardly see it, but in real life this has a lot of sparkle all over it. The tag does. So to add even a little bit more sparkle, the idea that it's winter and the trees are frozen and there's going to be snow and it's cold, I also used some Stickles glitter glue. I think this one's called Diamond Glaze or no, Diamonds or I don't know, something like that. I'll figure it out. I'll put it in the link below. On some of the branches, just trying to amp up that glittery look a little bit. So then once that was dry, I went ahead and moved on to step 3, or the third part of the challenge, which was to write random words. And I used my white Posca pen to do that, which I just wrote words like quietly and isolated and tranquility and softly and silent, and those type of words, peace, alone, those type of words. The words that I was trying to make this feel like walking in a birch forest as the snow starting to fall for the first time. So those are the type of words that I wrote just using a fine tip Posca pen. And then I also use that pen to splatter. You can just flick it and it'll make splatters. You don't have to go through the whole process of getting some acrylic paint and a brush to splatter. You can just do it with a pen. It's just got acrylic paint inside of it. So that's my snow that's starting to fall, the flakes. And then I went back over those flakes, of course, with some more glitter glue to make them a little bit more sparkly. I wish you could see the sparkliness. It's just, it doesn't work on the video very well. But trust me, it's sparkly. It's sparkly. So, yeah, I'm saying so too much, aren't I? I just noticed that. The next step after write random words, and you don't have to do these in order and you don't have to do all of them, but I like a challenge. So I like to do them all. And the other one, the fourth one, was numbers. And I had this strip of die cut letters and numbers that I'd made for another project sitting on my desk. It's a Tim Holtz Ranger die. It's long and narrow, and you just cut the whole thing at once. And then generally you just are using, 5 or 6 letters out of it, and you have the leftovers. And it's just still sitting on my desk. So, because I haven't cleaned up anything in a while now. So I decided to use the numbers from that. And I again used that Decoart crystal glitter medium to glue them down randomly, kind of horizontally across the tag, with the idea that I was creating an area where I was going to put some words. So some of them are sideways, some of them are up and down, but you can tell they're numbers, but they're not like in your face. You know what I'm saying? They're like kind of subtle or whatever, but I was just using them to give a pattern, a little bit of shadows and a pattern to that area across the tag, which I didn't want it to be about the numbers because it doesn't really have anything to do with anything on this tag. So that's how I did it, gluing them with that same media, decoupage type media. And dried that again so that it's all, they're all stuck down, making sure they're pressed down and attached to the tag. Then I got out my Brother P-Touch label maker and I printed out some words. They say, quietly the snowflakes fall, covering the forest floor. Can you count them? And that's where the numbers come in, counting the snowflakes as they fall. Of course, we never really can, but we try. It's fun. The first snow of the year to try to count them, especially when it's those really big, gloppy snowflakes. Of course, where I live, we don't really get that. But I could go 4 hours away up into the mountains and visit my kid, and I would see snow. It snowed on Sunday, so I could go watch the snow fall in the forest if I wanted to. It's not a birch tree forest, though. It's a pine forest, but, same thing. So I printed this Brother P-Touch has 5 different options of sizes. The font is all the same, but the sizes are different. The newer ones that they've come out have different fonts too, but I printed it on the very smallest size that there is. So then, of course, the tape is really wide in comparison to the letters. So I used my scissors to cut down the strips because there was too much white on them. I just wanted it to be a lot closer to the size of the letters, if you know what I mean. And so then I stuck those down onto my area of shadowing and pattern over the top of those numbers. Because once again, not about the numbers, just those are like, they're meant to be pattern, not, oh, look, there's numbers. You know, am I making sense? I'm not usually making very much sense. So then my next step was to make a border background for my tag. This is something I like to do on pretty much all my tags. I like to have that extra little edge around them. So this is a piece of glossy black cardstock that I've had for a long time. And I trimmed it down to the right size using my guillotine cutter and used some tacky glue to glue that tag down to it. And then a crocodile to punch the hole out again so that I can add some ribbon and fibers to the hole eventually. And then I used a Stabilo pencil to create some shading around my words, as well as a Arteza water tank brush to blend it and just kind of make that area stand out a little bit more. Another option would be to put some more numbers, so that, you know, there was more black behind those strips. But at that point, I'd already glued them down, and I just decided to go with some Stabilo all water-soluble pencil and blend that out a little bit. Then I got a snowflake punch and created a snowflake. This is kind of a reverse punch. Had I had a regular snowflake punch, I would have used that instead. That, you know, just punches out a snowflake. This one I have to glue all the little bits down to the card to make the snowflake, because it's kind of the shadow of the snowflake, I guess. It's from Stampin' Up. It's an old punch that I've had for a long time. Probably 15 years, maybe. But it works once I glue all those little bits down. And then I went over the bits with the sparkly glue again to make them sparkly. And I did eventually kind of add some shading around them with that same Stabilo pencil, although I think I did it after I turned the video off. But you'll see it in the close-ups at the end of the video that there's a little bit of shading around that snowflake. Then I added a little bit of the white Posca pen, just some more vertical, light-colored vertical lines to add more, I don't know, verticalness. I added verticalness to it. I just felt like I needed that for my own reasons, my own sensibilities. And some around where the black had gotten onto the tape a little bit, you know, give that a dry. And then my final thing to do was to add the fibers. This is a bunch of recycled sari material. They tear that silky stuff into strips, and then you can just buy a long piece of it, and some people use it for crocheting and stuff like that, knitting and crocheting. But I just use it for fibers. And then I had some other fiber cards with some different ones that I added, and I added a little bit of silver thread at the end. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and you might want to go check out Tag It Tuesday Facebook group. The link is below the video if you want to join. And of course, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment or question, subscribe if you haven't already, share if you want to. If you like altered tags, you could make something like this and share it in the group. So that's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.